I wonder if people are waiting. People might be waiting for us because we're late, but we're always on time, right? Somewhere
Our
Uh,
time.
we
Yeah.
our
start
time.
exactly when we're meant to.
In the
Yeah.
central time zone, we're early. So
There you go.
you know,
I don't believe
it's
in
one way to
time
look at it.
zones.
Did you live near the central time zone, Megan, growing up, or you were still pretty eastern?
I don't know. I grew up in Michigan. Where's that? I grew up in Grand
Well, there
Rapids,
was like,
Michigan.
do
Is
you
that in
remember?
I
what?
certainly couldn't tell you.
Remember when there was like a
I
part of
don't know.
Michigan that was central, the further west?
There was?
Uh,
I mean, I
Yeah,
was
and
pretty west.
I think they changed it, or maybe that was half of Indiana. There was part of either Michigan or Indiana that was like in the central time zone, and then they changed it back to Eastern.
This is like
Because it
classic
like
me. I don't even know.
Uh,
Chicago is the beginning of Central. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Well, I
except
was like
for
just north of Chicago.
There's that little
Indiana.
piece
I
of
think
Indiana.
Indiana is definitely carved up and weird
You were
because
east of
Deer Creek will
Chicago.
mess you up every time.
West. Or I was like just north of Chicago, kind of. I was in Southwest
You,
Michigan. Do you need me to get
yeah.
out the hand?
No, I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe at some point you were
A mitten.
in the central time zone. It's very relevant. We're back for 40 for 40. We haven't done this in a while, but we're going to do it. Brian is not here today, so we will get a different kind of pop culture summary, but we're in 3.0, guys. How do you feel about that?
I can't believe it.
So happy when 2009 happened. I look back on it a little differently now, but I was very happy at the time.
Oh man, I was so happy. Well, okay, so why different?
Well, the perspective is a motherfucker sometimes, you know?
Mm.
Like at the time
Mhm.
I was like, "Yay, we have fish and all fish, any fish is amazing." And now I'm like, "Well, we have fish and they've gotten better since then." That's my
Fair.
honest
Oh, I
opinion.
see. Yeah, your
Yeah.
perspective of '09. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. But
Well,
it
yeah,
doesn't take away how excited I was and how great it is that it happened.
that's fair. When I chose this show for this year, it just like then I went back and listened to it and it was just like pure fun, pure happiness.
Yeah,
Even
that's
though
what I loved about this show.
even at the time, I
It's
think I
so
was a
fun.
little bit like I wanted more jams, probably. But like
Sure.
also, what an idiot, just so happy that Fish was back. Also,
Both things can be true though. Like
Yeah.
this show, so I actually went back and looked, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves here probably, but
Yes.
I went back and looked at the Week for Pog message board and looked at all of the chatter about this show. And it was, a lot of it was a good show for the moment. Like it's a good show as compared to what had come before that year. And I think a lot of people were struggling with perspective and whether they even needed it. And we can talk more about that, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, without Brian here, we're gonna, what movies came out in 2009? No idea. Probably a bunch, but
None, no movies. Nobody went to the theaters. Everybody was trying to go on Fish Tour.
There you
And
go.
I do
tickets were hard to
remember.
get.
I remember getting the email, that Fish was coming back. I remember getting the email, being at work, and just being so overjoyed with just the fact that we get to see music again.
Oh, and how
It
about the
was such a
video
great feeling.
with the
Yeah.
painting?
Yeah.
With Hampton, like that really got
You
me.
must have
of
freaked
course.
out, Jonathan. You must have freaked out when it was Hampton.
I was at work. I made loud noises.
I
Yeah,
love
I
that.
freaked out.
That's awesome.
I freaked out. Yeah, wow. Yeah, it was a big deal. It was so
It
exciting.
was a big deal. Huge.
And
It
that
was
was
a big deal.
2008, but we should still talk about it because,
Yeah. Yeah, but it
Got-
was part of it's part of what got us to this summer. But Megan, what was going on in 2009? Anyway.
For the band or for me?
Yeah. Both.
For the band, well, for me, I just had a baby in the year before, so Mia was one, and it's actually kind of funny because when I heard the announcement, I was so excited. I was like, "All right, I have a little baby. That's great because when the shows come next year, I'll go to my first Fish show in 10 years, and I'll, do all the things, and I'll like be naughty, and I'll like figure out a way to like leave my baby at home, and it'll be so exciting. It'll be like me being like in touch with my roots." And then like a month or so before the Jones Beach show that I saw, I found out I was pregnant with my second daughter, Gemma. And I was like, I won't be doing all the things. I will be going to fish sober. So that was my first sober fish show. Maybe my only sober fish show, but definitely my first.
Wow.
Mhm.
There's still
Yeah.
time.
So
There's still time.
yeah, yeah. So that
Yeah.
fish show that I saw on June 4th, 2009, it was freezing cold rain. Like we got to the lot and it was like I brought my husband to his first fish show and I was like, this is going to be great. You're going to love the lot. And the lot was great. It was nice out and he loved it. He's like, he loves beer. He was like, this is fantastic. Like, I like Teddy burritos. Like, this is great. He had a great time. And then we walked into Jones Beach and it turns out at this point, Jones Beach was still like operating under like state park laws and they weren't selling alcohol in the venue. And it was like the record screeched to a halt.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? There's no
Yeah,
alcohol here?
2013 when I was there, that was still the rule.
So
not
that
good.
Was it really
That
that
show-
late?
Yep.
Wow. The rain is like notorious. There's no story about that show without talking about the rain. When did it
It got
start
crazy.
raining though? Had the music started? Was it during first set?
I think it was like when the music started. I don't remember exactly, but it was definitely like the temperature dropped by like 25 degrees and because it was early June, right on the water, and it just got freezing. And it had been really warm that day, not like hot, but warm. And I had to go to the merch stand and buy a sweatshirt. Jonathan's getting like sober by the minute. It's, freezing rain. He's like, what? I was like standing under where like the spinners were so I wouldn't get as wet. And I was pregnant. I was like, Trey played Time Turns Elastic. Like it was just all the things happening. But
Can we use
it was
the term perfect storm?
it was a perfect storm. Yeah.
How many
But
fishes
yeah.
has he seen since?
He's probably seen 3 or 4. He seems to always have a rain thing. He saw the Petrichor New Year's Eve too. But there was plenty of beer, so it was fine.
Yeah.
Well, that was a great New Year's Eve. I still like, I don't know what's wrong
Yeah,
with
it was
people.
fun.
So what happened with the band, Megan?
Okay, so Meg's Corner. A lot happens this year. Fish is going to play 52 shows this year, which seems just crazy. Crazy. That's a lot for your first year back. Like
Yeah.
they went into the deep end right away. In the beginning of the year, Fishman plays with Jazz Mandolin Projects, 2 shows up in Maine and Vermont. And then, of course, we've got the reunion shows in Hampton. And then there's a bunch of other sit-ins where the bands are playing with people like Trey and Paige play with Allman Brothers Band, and they all play with a lot of different people. Trey's going to play with the Baltimore Orchestra in May. And unfortunately, Trey's sister had passed away that year. So Water in the Sky is going to be played in memory to his sister, Christy, who passed away after a battle with cancer, and dedicated to his nephew. And then they're going to start Fish Summer Tour. So they're going to start off at Fenway at the end of May, then go to the shows at Jones Beach I was just talking about. And they're going to have the day off at City Winery. Mike, on his birthday, is going to play a show with Kreitzman and Murawski, which would have been just like it was unannounced, I guess. That would have been really fun. Yeah, right? Pop into. Then they have a big tour. They play Bonnaroo, which is kind of a big deal because I bet that was a lot of people's first time seeing Fish. Like a lot of people, that's probably their first show. And then they're going to go all over. They're going to the Midwest. They're going to play Red Rocks, the Gorge, go back through the Midwest, and they're going to end at SPAC. And Gordon has a tour in the East Coast, the Midwest in the fall. And then Trey's going to perform with the New York Philharmonic at Carnegie Hall. And this was a benefit for Christy as well. And then they released 2 albums. They released the 12th studio album, Joy. And then they're also going to release Party Time, which was those are both recorded with Steve Lillywhite. And then they're going to have Festival 8. So they'll be in Indio, California, covering Exile on Main Street. This is probably my most wished I had seen Halloween cover set. RJ, is it yours?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
I've only seen 2 Halloweens, and they were neither. I would say that if you were to rank them, I'm not going to say which ones they were. They would be in
you're not?
bottom. They would be in the bottom 3.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Rough.
Jonathan, how many have you seen?
I think I've only seen 2, but like I'm free to go to them now, whereas RJ still has many years of little children.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's true.
So yeah, but that's why I didn't see them for so many years, including Festival 8. I didn't see that one because I had a son born in 2008, although he didn't care about Halloween. My other kids did.
Yeah.
When Fest 8 came around. I just want to tag on a couple little notes about that year. So, we got the Joy debut at Camden, which Trey's sister, and it's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
We had Hampton was amazing. Nobody needs to hear me tell Hampton stories, really,
Great.
but it was awesome. So many friends came back. So many friends came with. So many friends were like, oh, we've been friends talking about Phish on the internet, and now we're in real life.
Yeah,
Weird.
that's so cool.
And that was great, and just so many good times. And that was the thing I carry the most about this whole year, is that we were back doing this thing that
Yeah.
we loved so much. I had actually been kind of taking up driving around to see other bands, much smaller bands, and not really jam bands. That's kind of where I was headed when Phish decided to come back, and then I started doing both, which is
Yeah,
great.
exactly. Just complicated everything. Yeah.
Could
So
I-
then they have a fall tour, and then they end the
Yeah.
year in Miami, New Year's Eve run.
Wild.
RJ, you saw a lot of Phish this year, though, right?
Yeah. I wanted to just say my favorite show that I saw that year is not the show we're talking about today, but I thought this show was better to talk about for various reasons, which we'll discuss. But yeah, I saw a lot of shows. I went to the Hampton shows, and then this is like the period when I was married, and my wife worked at a law firm, which means we had like lots of disposable income, but she was also always busy, and we didn't have kids yet, so
Didn't
we were
have
just
kids
like.
yet.
I kind of could just like do what I wanted, but
Living
it
the
also was just
dream.
the kind of beginning of our like real professional life. We lived in Boston at the time, but so I walked to Fenway, the show at Fenway. We went to
Wow.
Great Woods, Darien, Hartford, SPAC, and then the 2 Albany shows in Maine in the fall. The second Albany show, 11/28, which everyone knows, is just like I probably talked about it on the show. I mean, I know I have, that they're like, there was a point during the Seven Below jam in the second set when I was like, this is like, they can still do it. And I think I'd seen a
Yeah.
lot of good shows before that, but like that was just, it was so big and triumphant, and it was like that's a moment I'll never forget. But I wanted to talk about this show in particular, and can we talk about that, or do we have
Yeah.
other
Yeah, let's do
No, I have
it.
some
things?
comments to get to preface, and
Okay.
and I want to talk about albums. Like, I want to
Yeah.
do that one little segment of Brian's
Yeah.
Corner, but I
Do
want to
it.
kind of
Awesome.
follow up to what you just said.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is that on our Phish message board, we had a thread that was started right at the beginning. It started during the Hampton run, and it was like, Phish is back, and it was somebody saying this particular element of performance on this night means that the Phish that we knew, the Phish that we love, is back. And of course, it was pretty rapidly greeted over and over again with, meh, are they though? I mean, it's great, but does this jam really mean that the old Phish is back? And it's been interesting over the years. The thread went on for years, still going on. But nowadays it's just like, yeah, yeah. Why do we even have this anymore? We know they're back. But for a number of years, and including that, but back to 2009, that Albany show is one of those moments where people were like, yes, this right here, this proves it. This show that we're going to talk about today, that's one of those. It's one of those shows where people were like, we got narrations, and we got crazy
Yeah.
antics, and Phish is back. And it's interesting that it took really a number of years to get a consensus in that thread. And it's because there's so many different elements of Phish that had to come back, I think, for everybody to really feel like they were. But it was a road. It was a road they had to travel down, right? There's a song in that somewhere.
I had to say also, I want to just mention that if you've never been to this particular venue in Hartford, we're talking about 8/14/09. It's so weird, but it's like so fun to see Phish in Hartford. Like it's like really not a nice neighborhood. You're like hanging out in like weird parking lots under the highway. but like it's one of those Northeast destinations where like people are just. I just remember people being just like so happy, having a blast in the parking lot. It was a Friday afternoon, and we were like sitting in under a highway in Connecticut in like a not very nice part of Hartford, and it was just bliss.
That's
Um,
like the best thing about Fish Lot sometimes. You can be in the worst place and you're like, "Why is this the happiest I've ever been?"
yeah, yeah,
It's just
exactly.
so
Look at
weird.
this.
You're like, "This is a
What the
disgusting
hell?
place, but I'm having
They
the
played
most
there,
fun."
and they played there as recently as last year. That Hartford show last summer with
Oh, it
a
was super
huge,
hot, right?
huge wave of hope. Yeah.
Wave of hope.
Um,
Yeah.
but I just this whole show, and I think we can get into some of the specifics. But Jonathan, yeah, I mean, it was so fun. It was. I feel like that like the Fenway show that I went to was like fine. The Hampton shows were more about like just being there with friends, and I think after a while I was like, wait, why am I going to so many shows? I'm not sure this music is like every show I heard Down with Disease, and it was like 12
Yeah.
minutes and nothing
Second
really
set opener.
happened. I was like, why am I going to all these concerts? But this show has some good jams and some really interesting moments. But I just thought this show really represented 2009 from the opening with Punch You in the Eye, like just a nice statement, and I remember like just being there with my wife and my wife's sister and a bunch of friends. And actually, I think my wife's sister and her friend ended up laying down and rolling around on the lawn a bunch. But it's a different story. But like the Punch You in the Eye AC/DC bag opener combo, it was like we're back in summer tour, we're outdoors, it's a Friday in August. It was just a really wonderful show. But should we get into it, or is there any other context setting?
I was gonna, give us like some 2009 albums setting,
Yes, please
Let's
do.
context
do
real
it.
quick. But I have a long list that I'm not going to read. I'm going to skim and just give you a couple items I think of interest. 2009, as usual, lots of great records, lots of records also, because those are two different columns. And so here's just a few that jump out to me. And if I neglect your favorite, it's that just happens. It's nothing personal, probably. Animal Collective's Merriweather Post Pavilion came out that year, and I just want to say of that album, it's good, it's weird, it made me seasick the first time I heard it, which I think is great. The Bon Iver follow-up, Blood Bank, also came out.
Love that.
People who like Humphreys McGee want to know that Mantis came out, if that's a thing that you're into. Just kind of quick, I'm skipping Hoobastank. Sorry, everybody. I just wanted to say the word Hoobastank out loud. M. Ward's Hold Time came out in February of that year. Great little record. If you don't know M. Ward, you should. And yeah, I don't know. There's some good stuff here,
Yola
and I'm not seeing
Tango,
it all.
Popular Songs. I love that
Yeah.
album.
Yeah. Well, I'm
Mhm.
going chronological. Sorry, you're just jumping ahead.
Mm,
No, that's
I
fine.
just
It's
jumped
that's a
ahead.
good
Sorry.
it's a good mention. Definitely get
I
that in
won't. I
there.
won't intrude again.
No, you feel free. If I
Save
get
it
to
for the
the end
bonus
and
app,
I've left
guys.
I'll
something
save it
out,
for the bonus. Sorry.
yeah, exactly. Megafaun's Gather, Form, and Fly came out that year. I'm a big fan of that. Woods' Songs of Shame came out that year. Big fan of them. I'm really excited to see them next week. I think they have a new album just came out today. Woods, if you like them. If you don't, you should. Akron Family, Set 'Em Wild, Set 'Em Free. Green Day had a record. Do people still like Green Day by 2009? I don't really know.
I mean,
Iggy Pop
maybe.
had a record.
Probably.
The Preliminaires, interesting. Grizzly Bears, Vectimist. I know I dropped a syllable there. Brian would have wanted that one mentioned, I think. So I'm glad I got that in there. And I'm kind of bored looking at this, so I'm going to stop. Other than to say, Dinosaur Jr.'s Farm came out in 2009, and that album's awesome because it's Dinosaur Jr. and they're great.
Well, Jonathan, if you don't mind, I just want to say we will be talking about
Hey.
2009 albums on our bonus episode, and I hope that we find something to talk about because I do think that this was like that 2004, 2003, like there was a 2003 to 2008 period or something that was like just so big for indie rock in
Mhm.
particular.
Oh
you know?
yeah, I mean Wilco came out in 2009. We definitely have some stuff that we'll be touching on during the bonus episode. I think if
But
people
have we passed the indie rock peak at this point? The
indie
first
rock
one, first
peaks
wave.
are bullshit. They're not real. They're not real. It's
Well,
just
this
like
is
it's
for
just like coming up
entertainment.
and saying, it's December 15th, and I don't know. I don't think it's a really a good year for albums. And then Brian, because it's Brian, will be like, well, my list of favorite albums is 65 albums long.
Exactly.
Because if you're not hearing good music coming out that year, you're not looking hard enough. There's
Has
plenty
anyone
of music.
actually verified that Brian's lists? What if they're all fake albums?
Oh no, they're real.
Okay,
I can
They're
testify.
definitely real. Yeah.
as long as someone is checking. Okay, all right. That's a good point to point out that you can support Osiris by supporting Osiris Premium. It's $5 a month. You can hear us talk about stuff as scintillating as our favorite albums from 2009 and beyond. If you go to osirispod.com/premium, you can check it out. But okay, guys, let's talk about this first set.
Please.
Should we do it?
Let's do it.
I mean, first of all, I had forgotten this Mike song they played in the middle of the first set until it came up, and I was like, oh, what the hell was this? But first they opened, as I mentioned, with Punch You in the Eye, AC/DC Bag, NICU, Colonel Forbin, Fly Famous Mockingbird, Birds of a Feather, Lawn Boy, Stash, I Didn't Know, Middle of the Road, Character Zero. There was a lot happened, but I just felt like the Punch You in the Eye, AC/DC Bag opener and a pretty strong Forbin's Mockingbird, I think, was definitely rehearsed and revived. And I think there's some other stuff later. I think the Birds of a Feather jam has a nice kind of jam in it, but a lot of songs but I think like pretty high energy. I'm curious what you guys think, because I was there, so I'm biased.
Yeah, I
You
feel like
are.
it sounded really good. I think that the AC/DC Bag Trey had some really nice phrasing, some solid playing, and Colonel Forbes was really good. I mean, they hadn't played it since 2000, so 96 shows. They hadn't played it at all in 2.0. And Trey sounds good during Mockingbird. He sounds rehearsed. Like his tone, like if you listen to it with 2023 ears, it's like, it's just not like it is now. It's just so rich now. But yeah, I think the jam, like during Birds of a Feather, is like Paige is doing some really nice work. Trey's, it sounds mostly like, it was funny. I haven't listened to a ton of 2009 until this week because it's just not a year that I go back to a lot. And I was kind of removed from the scene then. And listening to it was so interesting because I felt like a lot of the jams, they seem like they're kind of searching for each other. Like it seems like it's kind of like Trey soloing and they're searching to find something to latch onto. And I feel like in moments in this show and some of the other shows, like you were talking about 11/28, 7/31, there's some moments when they kind of like almost breathe a little bit and you can hear them start to like talk to each other a little more. And it's exciting. And I think that happens a little bit in the second set. But I think that this whole show has a little bit more breath and space to it because it seems like they are having fun and they sound a little bit more relaxed. And I think that when they come out with I Didn't Know, I mean, this is a really great vacuum solo from Fishman. Like it's really, really good. And like
Straight
these
from
don't seem
Juilliard.
like these don't seem like they happen in the first set a lot. And I went down like a rabbit hole about the stats on that, but it's not that common. And if you're gonna play a Mike song, like what is this song called? The Middle of the Road.
Middle of the Road.
Yeah, if you're gonna play a middle of the road song, it's fine to do it like right after a Fishman solo and then close the set with Chalk Dust. So I think it's like good placement, has some good energy to it. Like, yeah. So I thought this set was good. It's really fun.
I feel like there should be like a soundbite for our podcast that just says is just that line that you just said. That was just a really great vacuum solo from Fishman. I feel like that would just kind of summarize the Helping Friendly podcast in a way that for people to
The
understand what
ridiculousness
this
of it.
show's all about. Yeah. So just a great.
I don't think you need to add from Fishman. I think just that was a really good vacuum solo.
That
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
we know who did it.
should be part of our promo. Jonathan,
It's
what did you
true.
think?
Well, I agree the energy is high. So one of the things, I was talking about that how when Fish is back and it took a bunch of different kinds of shows and different kinds of high moments through the first few years really for kind of consensus on that. And this show is one of those kinds of shows. So there are certain, there's more than what I'll list here, but there's certain kinds of shows, uh, like particularly in the first 5-6 years of 3.0. There's big jam shows. There's the Something Fest, usually Tweezer Fest, but it could be something else, right? Something Fest shows. There's the gimmick shows, like they started doing it
Mhm.
Dick's in their first few Dick's years. And then there's the show where they play the songs you really want, and not necessarily the stat patter kind of songs, but like this show has the good stuff.
Yeah.
Bag Opener is good stuff. Oh no, sorry, it's Punch Opener is good stuff, but Bag is right there with it. Is just stuff you really want to see. Forbidden Mockingbird, great. There's always somebody, and I'll be the guy today. Oh, no narration in Forbidden Mockingbird. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it was, this is the beginning of 3.0. The fact that they're even
Gotta take what you
playing
can
it is
get.
a big deal,
Yeah.
right? And they
Yeah.
make up for it later. It's I will take this moment to acknowledge that Mockingbird is not nailed. It's not, but it's fine.
It's pretty good
It's
though.
enjoyable. It's pretty good. It
Yeah.
sounds like Trey's working on it.
Yeah.
Like he worked on it, and he does a pretty good job. It's not an easy song.
No,
Um,
but it's practiced.
it's practiced. And more practice won't hurt. It was fine. I enjoyed it. Birds of a Feather does kind of gets there a little bit. I like what the fish.net note for the jam is that it mostly stays in bounds. And I think that's pretty accurate, right? Like it kind of leans against the line, doesn't really quite go over. I think the stash is, I think it's interesting that this stash in 2009 is longer than the ones they played this summer.
What about the stash,
But
Jonathan?
it's more inbounds. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
I think the Birds of a Feather is probably like the part of this set where it really they kind of start to,
The high
if you're-
energy really congeals on that jam.
and if you
Yeah.
listen to a lot of Fish shows, like it's a part where you're like, oh, this is interesting,
Yes.
Yeah.
I
but
want to say
it was middle of the road without making a pun.
It's funny you mentioned that. I'll yield the floor after I say this middle of the road song isn't terrible. It kind of sounds a little Allman
No.
Brothers-y, but that really came and went, didn't it? Like
I think he's played twice this tour. Yeah. It's
I-
from Mike's
I'm sure
2002
Mike-
album.
I'm sure Mike's playing it out there in his own band, but or if he isn't, he should be. But yeah, and gone. But yeah, solid. I think a solid first set. It's one of the better ones from the summer, I think. Just mostly based off memory.
Especially first set. Yeah. Yeah.
I saw a fair number of shows that year. Not quite as many as RJ. It is one of the years I saw nearly the most shows. I can't keep track because I don't want to. But yeah. It's a good start.
So I think this second set really is like, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's really, really fun.
Goes right to that fun show with the songs you want to see kind of thing that I'm talking about.
This is a great set. Yeah.
It's a great set. So they open with Down with Disease, into Wilson, into Slave, Piper, into Water in the Sky, Ghost, into Psycho Killer, into Catapult, into Iculus, into You Enjoy Myself, Encore, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. This is just, man, that was so fun. But Megan, it had probably been a while since you had listened to this set. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just blown away by how fun it was. Like I felt the Down with Disease right away. The jam like opens up. There's like a lot of like reverby feeling. Paige is laying down great textures. It gets super rhythmic. They just sound like they're talking to each other. It gets really effortless and interesting. Paige goes to the piano. It's beautiful. I felt like he really stood out in this set. There was so much beautiful piano work in this set. And I was like loving where Down with Disease was. When they started to play Wilson, I was like, okay, because I just wanted them to keep on jamming. It was so great, but it's Wilson, so it's good. But the moments that really stood out to me, I love this Piper. It's beautiful. It's amazing, gorgeous, exploratory. I love where it lands. It's really cool. It lands beautifully and then kind of like almost like decomposes into water in the sky. And I just absolutely love that. I think that's such a great landing, like perfect set list placement. And then this Ghost is awesome. It's like confident rock and roll jam. Trey's like shredding. And I really want to hear a Ghost into Psycho Killer now. Like this is a sick combination. Like how fun is this? Like they just sound like they're having the best time. And I'm super into this Plinko thing. Like, do you think they found this during like sound check and then decided that they were going to play it? Because it becomes this theme throughout the rest of the set. And even the Iculus is about this. Like it's about Pog, right? It's about the video game. And like they just sound
Pong.
like they're having so much fun. Pong.
Pong, P-O-N-G. It's the first video game.
I actually thought he said Pog. That's so funny. I know a lot about
Pog's
video
for
games.
something
Can you
else.
tell?
Yeah.
Can you tell? But I think it's awesome. And it's like, then you hear them slowly like really loosen up. And Trey's talking about having like a dance contest and has like Fish come up. And did Fish dance? Like what happened, RJ, during this? Do you remember
Well,
seeing this part?
I was hoping you would ask. I just want to say first that I've seen two out of 4 of the Psycho Killers that have ever been played. So I'm
Okay, well,
come
good.
with
I'm just going
me.
to see more shows with you then.
Yeah, which is maybe okay. Okay, I just want to show you guys this real quick. We're going to do a little multimedia exploration here.
Oh, God, this
So-
is
so
exciting, really?
This is Trey at the beginning of this.
Oh, my God.
So during the whole like Plinko thing, he's
What
doing
is
this
he
for
doing?
like several.
Trying to dance to it.
He's trying to dance.
He looks so weird.
They're just having so much fun. Sorry, I just want
Oh
to
my
share
God,
that
that's
quickly.
amazing.
It was awesome. Everyone was going nuts, and everyone was. And you're right. The Piper was really great. The Down with Disease. It's worth mentioning. There was this, Reba. I think
Yeah,
Fishnet.
it's straight up
notes
Reba. They call it
it's just a
Reba Light.
jam.
Yeah.
Reba.
It's all just. It's really great. So this, but I mean, we have to talk about the narration. But I do think the Down with Disease jam. The Wilson Slave is kind of a strange mid-set placement, but with the Down with Disease and the Piper, you get like a lot of pretty good improv. Although I think they were still trying to figure it
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
Can I, before we get into the narration,
Yeah.
can I talk
Yeah.
about the stuff that comes before?
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys kind of cover it with Down with Disease. I feel like it's interesting that they find Reba and stay there. That's the kind of move that they really, I don't feel, would have done in later 1.0
Mm.
unless they were going to just go ahead and like mess with us and just play the end of Reba, which I don't think they were going to do there. Trey slamming into Wilson is fine. I don't think it's a great Wilson. I feel it's a little rushed and sloppy, and he's just having fun with it. Cool. Slave makes up for it. I think Slave is fine and pretty. Piper,
Fine and pretty.
it's fine and pretty.
Slave.
Piper, like, I am not going to complain about the intros to Piper now that I've been reminded of what they were like in 2009. This is the hardest, fastest start to a Piper that I've heard, that I've listened to in a long time. And it is jarring, and I do not like it. The jam, cool. Not super long, but cool. Water in the Sky, cool. I think this Ghost, so summer of 2009 Ghosts are not great, just as a rule. They're not great. They're sometimes fine. This is one of probably the best that I can remember. And based on some of my reading of like my thoughts and notes from that time frame, I think this is one of the better ones. It's just okay. Kind of goes though, and I'm talking about the song. Like the song part doesn't really kind of click right, but they kind of get somewhere. and then they get into this Psycho Killer. And RJ, you've seen 2 of 4, right? So this was the first one since what, 97.
Hmm.
And it is unlike that one, which is commonly referred to as a funk jam or whatever. This one is all rock with a
Yeah.
nice dose of slop. It's fun as hell. And I would say, unlike Mockingbird, which felt like Trey had practiced, this they did not practice. They found their way into it
Yeah.
and winged it. And that's fine.
Which makes it sound fun. Yeah. Like sometimes
It
that's
is
okay.
fun.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it breaks down into that weird plinko ping pongy jam, and we get the weird dance, and we get Catapult.
And then Catapult. It's like, yes, this is so perfect. This is perfect.
Yeah.
And this and you know what
Perfect.
follows, this is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of thing, like, it looks good on paper. It's nearly as good to listen to as it is on paper. It's great on paper. It's good when you listen to it. And it is among the, top shelf for the year.
I mean, I
Yeah.
would have died if I was at this show because I've never heard Psycho Killer or Catapult or Iculus. Like this literally would have been like, my head would have exploded.
I have friends
Instead,
who showed
I
up
got
at
Time Turns
Merriweather.
Elastic. It's fine.
Yeah, I got it. I got that too. I had friends who showed up at Merriweather right after this, and they were like freaked out. Like, that was crazy.
Yeah, like
that was weird. Like, oh, cool. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, so the Iculus. So there is this really great I don't know. I mean, at this point it sounds very different because he talks about kids with their iPhones and their DVDs, but
So old. Your DVD things.
your DVD things.
in your auto-tune music.
I know. I heard that.
So-
I almost died. Wow.
Oh, Trey.
Trey's gonna.
Wow.
He wouldn't say that now.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Nope. Trey's a different guy now in 2023. But the whole
real.
thing was just, I remember watching it from the, just it was just awesome to see him just talking nonsense and them playing the first
Yes.
Iculus since 99. And, it was all not, I mean, it's all nonsense, but I do think that, like, kids out there never pick up a book, I was like, yeah, it's true. But
It's
mostly
true.
it was just nonsense, which is exactly what everyone wanted. Everyone just wanted some nonsense, and it worked.
Fish had been kind of musically playful in the year.
Yeah.
I think one of the Gorge shows is, rated really high amongst people I know and people who were seeing shows that year. I didn't go out west because it's far away, but did you know that, guys? It's very far. Anyways, but this show really had Trey opening up the bag of tricks and the band getting loose and having so much fun, and everybody else had you. If you're not having fun when Fish is having fun,
Yeah.
why are you there?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you get the Fishman, thing in the first set, and then you get Catapult and
Like, you
Iculus.
can't even say it, but
Yeah. Fishman
But like
thing. I
that's
mean,
where
it's-
it should
Artie's
be.
a big
Like I
vacuum
would
guy.
much rather have the vacuum in the first set than like, the fourth quarter of the second set.
Mhm.
Like,
Sets don't
you know
matter.
what? That's the perfect place for it because then you're just having fun. You're not like thinking, oh, this is taking up time when they could be in like doing something unbelievable.
Yeah.
But now they jam at any time in 2023. Sets don't matter.
I know, but
They,
it still kind of does.
You enjoy
Sometimes.
myself in your so-called fourth quarter could go into a jam, and then Fishman could wander
mine?
out
Is
and
it my
play
self-quarter?
vacuum, and it could go into Great Gig in the Sky. And would you complain? No, you would not complain.
Somebody
I
would.
rarely complain
Yeah,
at Fish shows.
and
but
I
I'm
would
just
mute that guy.
saying. Yeah, and I'm just saying though, I like Vac solos better in the first set.
I think that's
Anytime.
fine. Everyone has
Yeah.
their
I think that's
preferences.
fine. I say
Everyone has their preferences. So, okay. You Enjoy Myself closes the second set, as Jonathan mentioned. It did not go into Great Gig in the Sky, but it was really fun. What a way to end after like something like what we saw in that second set, which is just again, just kind of like they were back, and I think they knew they were just back and having fun. I think the first couple months of them being back was probably a little nerve wracking. At least like
A lot of pressure.
at some times it felt like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, because it was, I think we were all carrying a lot of expectations into Fish shows, and it probably ruined a lot of people's time. I know it
Mhm.
dampened things for me for the first few years. It was after the very first shows when we had no idea what Fish was going to do, and then Fish came back, and we were like, "Oh, okay, Fish is going to try to be Fish again, like just like they were. Perfect. That's what we want." And then that nothing over 13 minutes in this show, or whatever it is. You start to pile on expectations. Took me a little while to turn that off. I think a lot of people had it. A lot of people walked out of shows. I don't think a lot of people walked out of this show thinking, man, that sucked. I don't think that happened here. But I think that people walked out of other shows, or people who were at home listening to them on Live Fish, because of course you could listen to every show pretty soon after. Not quite as fast as you can today, but pretty soon after. And you would people people were looking for more and more, and here's it. Fish leveled up. 3.0 Fish leveled up right here on this night. Even with a standard You Enjoy Myself, everybody should remind themselves that a standard You Enjoy Myself is fucking rad. It's
Yeah, it's
good.
fun. Spirited.
Yeah, and it's not a train wreck. It's pretty normal You Enjoy Myself. It's great.
Yeah.
Dig it.
Megan, what are your takeaways?
I think that 2009 Fish is it was more fun than I thought it was gonna be to listen to the show. I think I probably listened to the show in 2009, and I don't think I've ever listened to it since then, and I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. It was so fun, and it also just made me realize, like, these had to be the moments when the band really felt like they were doing it again, and you can almost feel the pressure valve kind of get released, and it just must have, like, occurred to them, like, when we have fun, when we're relaxed, that's when this is gonna work again in a real way, and you can really hear that in this night.
I'd like to add that speaking of going back to this, I agree. I probably haven't been back to this since 2009 either, but I did reach out to my friend Patrick, who was different to your friend Patrick, RJ, but good guy. He was at this show also, and I said, "Hey, we're going to talk about this show tomorrow." And I was, fishing for comments, and all he said was, "Oh man, what a show! I'll pull up that Iculus on YouTube whenever I need a pick me up." So,
Oh, that's
um,
Nice.
awesome. Hell yeah.
yeah, I think that's rad. Um,
Mhm.
so also shout out to Patrick.
That's awesome. That's great. See, I think that's a good summary.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're gonna continue on. I mean, we got to go to 2010 next. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna
Yeah.
happen. We're gonna
I
end up
mean, if you
in the
guys
present.
want to just skip ahead to 2015, that's cool.
No, we gotta do the hard 2 years
Nope.
too. We've learned those conversations have been some of the best, like, the most interesting in a way.
I mean, we're coming
We
up on my hiatus.
all right. Well, we made it through 2004, so we can make it through anything.
Exactly. We made it through 2.0, we can survive 3.0, early 3.0.
Yeah.
What do you think,
All right.
Jonathan? Do you
I'll
agree
be
with
back
that?
in
We'll
about
drag
4 weeks.
we'll drag you along. It's fine.
You're actually what's great about it is I think you're on deck for 2010.
Yeah.
So you better get back on the train, as they say.
Yeah, no, well, I can tell you with absolute certainty that I have no idea what show we're doing next week.
All right. See,
Exciting.
isn't that exciting for our audience? Look at that. All right, we're going to be back next week with a show that is to be determined, but that's the way we like to roll. I think that's it. Hope everybody has a good weekend. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.